Okay, Mitchell. I know I've been reading you a lot of books. Here's another one, Scruffy the Tugboat. And all these books are because you're turning 3, sir. That's a pretty good age. Scruffy the Tugboat and His Adventures Down the River by Gertrude Crampton. Crampton. Scruffy was sad. Scruffy was cross. Scruffy sniffed his blue smokestack. See the blue smokestacks up there? A toy store is no place for a red-painted tugboat, said Scruffy, and he sniffed his blue snuff stack again. I was meant for bigger things. Perhaps you would not be cross if you went sailing, said the man with the polka dot tie who owned the shop. So one night he took Scruffy home to his little boy. He filled the bathtub with water. Sail, little tugboat, said the boy. I won't sail in a bathtub, said Scruffy. A tub is no place for a red-painted tugboat. I was meant for bigger things. The next day, the man with the polka dot tie and his little boy carried Scruffy to a laughing brook that started high in the hills. Sail, little tugboat, said the man with the polka dot tie. You see him? It was spring and the brook was full to the brim with its water. And the water moved in a hurry, as all things move in a hurry when it is spring. Scruffy was in a hurry, too. Come back, little tugboat, come back, cried the little boy as the hurrying brimful brook carried Scruffy downstream. Whew. And Sharon messed up on those words. Not I, scooted Tuffy, not I. This is the life for me. See him going down? All that day, Scruffy sailed along with the brook, past the meadows filled with cowslips, past the women washing clothes on the bank, past the little woods with violets. Cows came to the brook to drink. They stood in the cool water, and it was fun to sail around between their legs and bump softly into their noses. It was fun to see them drink. But when a white and brown cow almost drank Scruffy instead of the brook's cool water, Scruffy was frightened. That was not fun. Night came, and with it the moon. Look up in there. What is that? Suddenly an owl called out, hoot, hoot. Toot, toot, cried the frightened tugboat, and he wished he could see the smiling face of the man with the polka dot tie. There's a fish in the water, too. When morning came, Scruffy was cross instead of frightened. I was meant for bigger things, but which way am I to go? He said. But there was only one way to go, and that was with the running water, where the two brooks met to form a small river. And with the river sailed Scruffy, the red-painted tugboat. He went with the river. He was proud when he sailed past villages. People build villages at the edge of my river, said Scruffy, and he straightened his blue smokestack. Once Scruffy's river joined a small one jammed with logs. Ooh, that's not a good place to be. Here were men in heavy jackets and great boots walking about on the floating logs, trying to pry them free. Toot, toot, let me through, demanded Scruffy. But the men paid no attention to him. They pushed the logs apart so they would drift with the river to the sawmill in the town. Scruffy bumped along with the jostling logs. Ouch, he cried as 2 logs bumped together. This is a fine river, said Scruffy, but it's very busy and very big for me. He was proud when he sailed under the bridges. My river is so wide and so deep that people must build bridges to cross it. The river moved through big towns now instead of villages. It's getting bigger. And the bridges over it were very wide, wide enough so that many cars and trucks and streetcars could cross all at once. The river got deeper and deeper. Scruffy did not have to tuck up his bottom. The river moved faster and faster. I feel like a train instead of a tugboat, said Scruffy, as he was hurried along. He was proud when he passed the old sawmill with its water wheel. You see the rainbow in the sky, Mitch? But high in the hills and mountains, the winter snow melted. Water filled the brooks and rushed from there into the small rivers. Faster and faster it flowed to the great river where Scruffy sailed. There's too much water in this river, said Scruffy, as he pitched and tossed on the waves. Soon it will splash over the top, and what a flood there will be. Soon great armies of men came to save the fields and towns from the rushing water. They filled bags with sand and put them at the edge of the river. They're making higher banks for the river, shouted Scruffy, to hold the water back. The water rose higher and higher. The men built the sandbags higher and higher. Higher up went the river, higher went the sandbags. At last the water rose no more. The flood water rushed the flood water rushed onto the sea, and Scruffy raced along with the flood. You see all the animals? They were taken up to higher ground so they would be safe. The people in the fields and the towns were safe. On went the river to the sea. At last Scruffy sailed into a big city. Here the river widened, and all about were docks and wharves. Oh, it was a busy place and a noisy place. The cranes crooned as they swung the cargoes into the great ships. The porters shouted as they carried suitcases and boxes on board. You see all the things being loaded up? And the people. Horses stamped and truck motors roared. Streetcars clanged and people shouted. Scruffy said, toot, toot, but nobody noticed. Look, he's down there. He's really small compared to all of them. Oh, no, cried Scruffy when he saw the sea. There's no beginning and there's no end of the sea. I wish I could find the man with the polka dot tie and his little boy. Just as the little red painted tugboat sailed past the last piece of land, a hand reached out and picked him up. And there was the man with the polka dot tie with his little boy beside him. Scruffy's home now with the man with the polka dot tie and his little boy. He sails from one end of the bathtub to the other. This is the place for a red painted tugboat, says Scruffy, and this is the life for me. You see it? The end.